At first, the Ranger might seem like it has issues maintaining its PP, but there's actually a few different ways to get around this. Starting with the simplest of options, using the launcher's normal attack will restore 10 PP per enemy hit. So, using it on groups of enemies will restore lots of PP very quickly and costs you nothing to do. The next and possibly most important resource is to use your grenades or traps with a maxed out tactical trap in your skill tree, as this will allow any grenade or trap to restore 20% of your entire PP per enemy hit. You'll most likely only really need to rely on Stun Grenade and Gravity Bomb, as they both have a rather short cooldown and are quick and easy to use. However, Spring Trap can be an amazing tool to have against mostly stationary targets or bosses. Simply place it down and detonate it whenever you would like. It will then hit 3 times, each of which restores 20% PP. Just keep in mind you will need to wait at least 2 seconds before manually detonating Spring Trap, and that it will go off by itself after 20 seconds either way. Now, Poison Trap can be used very similarly, but since Spring Trap hits 3 times, it's usually favored over Poison. There's then still a few more things Ranger has natively that can help with maintaining its resources, but this is where it gets tricky. PP Preservation Bullet in your skill tree makes it so you can have up to a 20% PP cost reduction per PA used, so long as you have any form of special rounds loaded into your weapon. Now, this does work for rifles and launchers, but will only work for the specific weapon type that the special rounds are loaded into. So if I loaded Blight rounds into my rifle, my launcher would not gain any PP cost reduction. And speaking of Blight rounds, until we get more skill points, it's really the only special round worth taking. Now, you could take one of the special rounds for launcher to make use of PP Preservation Bullet, but its normal attacks already restore quite a bit of PP, and you already have your grenades and traps to fall back on too. Anyways, this now puts us in an awkward situation, as you are now stuck unable to normal attack to restore PP with the rifle, because if you do, you will lose any special loaded rounds. But there is actually a way around this, and it's called Keep Roll Shot in your skill tree. And this allows you to save any special loaded round when performing a dive roll shot, which is simply a normal attack after a dodge. And while this should not be your main form of restoring PP, it's the only way you can normal attack without losing your loaded rounds. Lastly, don't be afraid to swap weapons even when you have special rounds loaded, as with only 1 skill point, you can take ammo maintenance, which preserves these when swapping. Moving on, let's get into what you can add onto your character to help aid in resource management. Starting with mags, there's 2 types of mags you might want to look for. They are Cetus Proi and Julius Nifta. While Ketos Proi is the only one here that will actually grant PP regeneration, Julius Nicta performs a big AoE suction, similar to your Gravity Bomb. And with that, you can then clear out everything very fast and spend less PP while doing so by being able to attack everything once it's all grouped up in one place. There's now a few right skill rings you can consider using that go along with our theme. Precision Hit PP gain, when maxed out, will grant an additional 20% PP per hit when attacking a weak spot. This will pair quite nicely with your dive roll shots PP regen as well as your launcher's normals. Next, there's the PP Conversion Right ring that lets you use Tekker's active buff that will temporarily decrease your max HP while granting increased PP regen for 20 seconds. The last ring I'd like to mention is Combo Variant P-Attack PP Save, and this lets us make use of the Fighter skill that reduces PA cost when perfect attacking different PAs back to back. However, due to Ranger's playstyle, it may not get used enough to consider having over other rings, but it's still a nice little option to have. As far as subclass choices go that would help with PP management, there's really only 3 worth mentioning, and they are Fighter, Phantom, and Étoile. Unfortunately, NA will likely not see Phantom until December and Étoile until early 2021. Until then, in my opinion, there's no point in choosing a sub based on PP management, but let's explain them all really quickly. Starting with what we do have, the Fighter has its skill that we previously mentioned in ring form, Combo Variant P-Attack PP Save. However, keep in mind Fighter sub offers no protections or safety nets, and requires a bit more effort to maintain its perfect attack bonuses and stance conditionals. And again, there is a ring that does the same thing. Now when we eventually get them, Phantom has a skill that increases its natural and on-hit PP regen by 30%. And Étoile has a skill that reduces the cost of a PA the more times it's used consecutively. I'd like to wrap this up by saying that very soon there will be a lot more gear with potentials and S augments that will help with PP management. But since we don't know exactly when we're getting what on NA, I'm going to wait at least until episode 4 before getting into any of that. For now, Slave and Nemesis weapon potentials work great for either reducing PP cost or granting increased PP recovery on hit, but that's as far as I'll go with weapons for now. And that's about it for resource management on Ranger. I had originally planned to do one big video on this, but have decided to split it up a little bit, and instead do one for each class separately, or one for at least most classes. That being said, some of the info such as rings, subs, and mags may be quickly repeated in future videos, kind of like how there was a lot of overlap with subclass and ring suggestions in my intro videos. But anyways, let me know if I forgot anything, and take care.